Truth is hidden, but truth leaves clues. The gospel, it's it's seeded with many intrinsic properties that help us identify it. Maybe it's better because that's going to evoke churchy thoughts. It's better to say truth is seeded with things that make it easy to recognize. And so the full magnitude of what we're exposed to and its consequences, those are always obscured, but there will be breadcrumbs to indicate that this is something of great worth. And one of those, which is an explicitly religious one, is that you can't show anyone anything about God without also making it easier for them to become that way themselves. And so you show them something about God in showing how we are different than that, or He is different from us. You also show how to become that way yourself and give reasons why you should. So often we shy away from this idea of what is better than us. And whether that's an entire being or some facet, even something as contained as an idea or practice. But we should embrace those revelations because they are the path to becoming better ourselves. And this is such an interesting thing because it becomes a great separator between those who seek and love that improvement and those who do not, and they hate it and they run from it or attack it or minimize it or ignore it. I love this verse in John 12:28. And the Lord says, Father, glorify thy name. It's 3 words. Glorify thy name. What he's asking is 3 words. 2 of those words are vastly misunderstood. What does it mean to glorify? It means to reveal the goodness of to a greater extent than previously comprehended. So how is God glorified? He's glorified any time anyone gains a greater understanding of how good he is. And because he owns all good things, God is glorified any time someone gains appreciation for what is actually good or orients themselves more closely to what has greater value. That's how God is glorified. And so the churchy ways of thinking about this, some of them are true, but they are a subset of the whole that I just described. This is incredibly important. I will give you just one very specific example of how it's important, but there are many. There are those of you who desire to draw nearer to God, but the ways you see of doing this all seem afar off to you. They seem like they are distant in time or great in cost. The truth is that whatever may lie in the future, and however great the cost of everything is, the path between where you are and where you could be, the fullness of your potential, it begins in the smallest step that's before you right now. And you think that that step is something that's a lot bigger than it is. It's the tiniest little step. It's the easiest thing in the world to take if you can see it. part of the way that God's name, which I haven't described yet, is going to be glorified and is being glorified is that we are decomposing it down and applying it specifically to what is right in front of your face and in your mind and heart in an extremely bite-sized piece. And what is his name? It is what defines him as a unique being. It is everything that makes God God. It's how he feels. It's how he thinks. It's what he feels. It's what he thinks. It's what he says and what he does. All of those things under whichever circumstances they are. It's everything about him that defines him. So, why is it so important for his name to be glorified? Because you cannot obtain what you do not understand. You cannot value what you do not understand. One of the reasons you can't obtain it is you can't recognize it when it comes. You can't value what you do not understand. And you cannot have joy in what you do not value. And the Lord's objective is to increase your joy. And so in order to do that, he has to glorify his name. He has to show you more of how he is, why he is that way, and why it's better than anything else, and how you become like that yourself. And that is the gospel of Jesus Christ. So the Lord said, Father, glorify thy name. And the Father replied, it says, then came there a voice from heaven saying, I have both glorified it and will glorify it again. Rejoice, my friends, because we're living in an age where God's name will be glorified to a greater extent than it has ever been since the world was created.